When you consider the deputy ministers, 46%. When you deal with premiers, it is 22%, and their vote is 55%. Thus, we say we have a long way to go in addressing and ensuring gender equality. Further, it is grateful that Ms. Monde Mazwai was appointed during the month of August by our President, His Excellency, President Ramaphosa, to lead the competition tribunal. She is the first woman to lead this critical body. We continue to call on the private sector to do more to advance Black economic transformation and employment equity. Their record leaves much to be desired. And we implore, in particular, to this House to continue to advocate for transformation instead of protecting the status quo that marginalizes women who are in the majority and suffering poverty in this country. Now, I want to complete this. As I said when we met in Amachulu, the ANC brought 50-50 in this House. However, other parties didn't follow the suit. We call on all other parties not to undermine women representation in this House as well as in all other sectors. Honorable Speaker, the Statistics South Africa Report 2017 noted that even though South Africa has made strides on gender representation, the gender representation is still below 50% mark for position that comes with great deal of influence. Women comprises of 32% of the Supreme Court of Appeal judges, 31% of advocates, 30% of ambassadors, and 24% of the heads of state-owned enterprises, while in the private sector, of top 40 JSE listed companies, only one company had a female CEO. This is really worrying, and it should be concerning to all of us. The BEE Commission report also paints a gloomy picture. It shows that Black women ownership in the JSE sits at 9%, which has regressed compared to 10.32% in 2016. The target set in the Code of Good Practice for Black women representation on boards is at 25%. But the report further indicates that Black women representation is in fact only 18% of company listed, while male continues to dominate by occupying 58% of the board positions. And even there, Black males are accounting for just 20%. The latest Commission of Employment Equity report, which was released, underlined this state of affairs. The white population still dominate top and senior management position despite number of efforts made, and it is clearly entailed in the Economical Active Persons report. The report further states that 65% of top management positions are occupied by white people, while 54% of senior management is in the same. The report also reveals that men occupy 76% of top management in government, with 71 of these being taken up by Black Africans. White women only occupy 39% of senior management. We welcome the commitment by the Minister of Labor and Employment, Mr. Thulas Nxesi, that his department will increase the number of inspectors to ensure greater enforcement in reaching the employment equity. Honorable members, despite resistance to transformation, challenges to achieving gender equality, there are many achievements that the ANC government is proud of in its 25 years in the program of transforming and restoration of dignity of the South African women. If we may continue from what we are counted on the August 9 event, we will include the following. The provincial government awarded bursaries worth a total of 1.8 billion to more than 16,000 students between the period of 2014 and 2018. The government provided a total of 114,803 quality houses with basic services to poor families. Since 2014, we've upgraded 34,578 sites in informal settlements. In KZN, access to electricity improved from 78% in 2011 to 89%. We've delivered 43 new schools within the province since 2014. Over the past 5 years, more than 47,000 learners in 320 schools benefited the learner transport program. Life expectancy at birth increased over the last 5 years from 56.9 to 60.7 years in 2018. New HIV infections decreased from about 79,000 to 61,000 between 2014 and 2018. Mother-to-child transmission of HIV decreased from 1.6 in 2014 to 0.71 in 2018. We've set up not less than 44 community nutrition development centers across the province to ensure that at least 12,500 poor receive at least one balanced meal for 5 days in a week. Honorable members, the ANC government is mainstreaming gender in all its programs and ensuring that our policies always entail and embrace gender equality. It is also for this reason that all our programs from various departments has a particular focus on women during the month of August. On the 17th of August, the Office of the Premier joined in Chukumo Annual Women Conference in Washbank, where we acknowledge the role of women leadership and the church in social cohesion and nation building. We indicated to also during our address to the 21st Africa Renaissance Conference under the theme, Enhancing Collective Prosperity Through Entrepreneurship in Durban, that there is a need to mentor young entrepreneurs, especially young women who are SMMEs and cooperatives. You will know that in terms of the new KZN medium-term expenditure framework, target 30% of set aside for women, youth, and SMME. Our own provincial growth and development program targets that government should spend 35% for youth, 35% to women, 5% to people with disability, 10% for military veterans. And in all, we should spend not less than 60% to Africans. By 2024, 50% of government spend will be on entrepreneurship for women and women-led businesses. We also want land to be acquired for agriculture in terms of rural land reform program, and we're targeting that 40% of that must go to the youth. On the 23rd of August, The Office of the Premier also participated in KZN Young Women in Leadership and Empowerment Summit in Durban. This summit was used to inspire the confidence among young women who are in leadership to take their rightful place also in the economy, and also to support various programs that are led by government that are offering women empowerment. We're also working hard with various stakeholders to root out patriarchy and address issues of the culture of violence among young men and boys. It was for that reason that we convened last Saturday a youth camp in Umfolozi municipality, where we engage in coaching young boys on efforts to produce a new man that respects the dignity of all women. I wish to convey my sincere gratitude to members of the Executive Council and their departments for many programs that they initiated during this month to advance the struggles of women. I invite all members of this House to make it their daily task to work hard to ensure that indeed in our lifetime we deliver a national democratic society that knows no patriarchy, no abuse of women, no gender oppression. The ANC will not steer on its mission of achieving a united, non-racial, non-sexist, equal and prosperous South Africa. It remains a task not only of us who are gathered here, but as leaders who are gathered here, we have a responsibility to lead. And therefore, we should ensure that all sectors of the society are educated, conscientized to advance the struggle for gender equality. In that, Honorable Speaker, we say, Malibongwe, and let us grow South Africa together. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. The next speaker is Honorable MEC NM Khoza of the ANC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. To Madam Speaker, the Premier, Honorable Zigalala, members of the Executive Council, honorable members, guests in the gallery, allow me to greet you all this afternoon as we begin the women's debate. It would be injustice of me not to begin by paying tribute to Dr. Thandi Ndlovu, as our Premier has alluded to, an achiever extraordinaire throughout her life. Here is a woman who partook in the fight against apartheid from a very young age. She left the country to join Umkhonto weSizwe. She also used the opportunity to further her studies, including medicine. In her return in the early 90s, she decided to venture into a business sector that was not only white dominated, but also male dominated, construction and built environment. We say a big tree has fallen. Madam Speaker, I'm overwhelmed by the honor extended to me to remind members of this House about the role played by women in the liberation struggle and fight for women emancipation. On Tuesday, the 27th of August, 2019, I joined the MEC for Public Works and Human Settlements, Honorable Peggy Nkonyeni, to Empangeni, as the department handed over houses and title deeds to various beneficiaries. What touched me the most was the 2 houses that were handed over were given to an elderly woman and a disabled elderly citizen. The majority of those who received title deeds were women, in particular young women from child-headed households. This speaks to the restoration of dignity of women, as declared by the manifesto of the African National Congress. This is also in line with the population development policy, which as the Department of Social Development are custodians of, and also a constitutional imperative of preserving the dignity of the most vulnerable of our society, women in particular. It should be noted that the 1998 South African population policy is a victory for women, given that it is a document that seeks to redress the inequalities of the past. It is thus encouraging to see title deeds and houses being handed over to young women specifically. In the advent of democracy, the African National Congress displayed commitment to improving socio-economic conditions of women by developing integrated, coherent social economic policy aimed at building a democratic, non-racial, and non-sexist future. I stand here with the understanding that the elevation of conversation that women cannot continue to be the face of poverty is slowly gaining momentum in all sectors, but a lot still needs to be done. The rise for women to participate fully in the economy remains central in the growth and development of the country. Women still face discrimination where land ownership is concerned. The Freedom Charter adopted in Kliptown in 1955 declared that the land shall be shared among those who work it. Women are among those who work the land most. However, they still relinquish behind when we speak of land ownership, of access to land. In this regard, we shall interrogate the interrelation between population trends and the empowerment of women as spelled out by the Premier. There are two possible approaches to consider. That these interrelationships are spelled out in our overarching policy as that they are important in terms of influencing women's position in society. Number two, efforts to empower which will have a significant impact on population trends and thus contribute in women's quality of life. Number three, when we appropriate budget, we should also conscientiously allocate and ring-fence the Women Fund. I understand that is in the office of the Premier. For better monitoring, that fund should be there. Madam Speaker, evidence now shows that social safety nets are making substantial contribution in the fight against poverty. Safety nets help people escape extreme poverty, close the poverty gap, and reduce inequality. Safety nets build household resilience to respond to shocks across the life cycle, key to building human capital. The report highlights that while safety nets help 36% of the poorest escape extreme poverty, only 1 in 5 of the poorest in low-income countries are covered by safety net program. The report focuses on two special themes. One, adaptive social protection, increasing in the responsiveness of social protection programs to adapt to and meet changed needs on the ground after shocks have materialized. And two, to all pensions, which provide an alternative source of income for elderly adults who are not covered by contributory schemes. Madam Speaker, women have always been at the forefront of the struggle for emancipation from all forms of oppression. We are inspired by who led the beer hall, women who led the beer hall boycotts across the country. In 1959, women staged a demonstration in Katomena in protest of the beer hall liquor legislation. We know that this was merely for their own economic emancipation, as the legislation spoke against the selling of home-brewed beer in their homes, which was means of survival to some of those comrades. It is ironic that these demonstrations started in our home province, which is Kwazulu Natal. Madam Speaker, I mentioned these names of our freedom fighters who were fighting those leading those beer halls in this house because we are standing on their shoulders. In whatever we are doing, Honorable Speaker, we want to ensure that their fight was not in vain. The ANC 50-50 gender parity has ensured that women agenda resonate in the people of this country in all sectors. Madam Speaker, we are not where we are supposed to be as the nation. Indeed, our national cabinet, provincial executive and members of this legislature from the ruling party, side by side this testimony. I stand with no fear, no doubt that the ANC government has done well to change the unfortunate changes facing by women. As I look at the benches of the ANC in this house, I am proud. But looking at the benches of the opposition, you feel ashamed. However, it is a disgrace to see women representation become less and lesser in the benches of the opposition. We are not going to blame them, but we have to work harder as the Women's Caucus and the ANC Women's League to ensure that even in the opposition parties, they get proper recognition as women. We are not going to neglect them. Honorable Speaker, a woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she gets hot in water. Let's create an enabling environment for our women. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is Honorable TJ Gumede of the IFP for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I greet my leader, my president, and I greet the House. IFP will speak about exclusion of other heroines who played critical roles in the emancipation of women. The culture of only highlighting ANC women heroines when celebrating important women who played critical roles in our history. The deliberate exclusion of other women is uncalled for. Women throughout the country had put their names and petitions and thus indicated anger and frustrations at having their freedom of movement restricted by the hated official passes. The bravery of all these women who risked their lives must be always applauded holistically. So too are the other organizational skills and community consciousness. IFP today celebrates an icon of a woman, Umkabayi Jama, who was an astute political leader, a woman who united the country, the KZN. We're having KZN today because of her. The woman who taught other women that you can become independent, you can be militant, you can also unite. We cannot forget women like Queen Mojaji, the woman who brought fertility to the land and the richness to the earth because she was so powered and gifted that she could command the clouds and the rain will fall. We cannot forget to also celebrate the artistic ways in music of the Princess Makoko Dinizulu, who also taught other women that you can sing, you can be known, you can be world-renowned. Therefore, we expect women in leadership positions, especially in the ruling party, to be on the forefront promoting unity and emancipation of all women in this country, regardless of their political affiliation, and not to rewrite history to push political agendas. To this, I'm saying because just last 2 weeks, I think on the 8th night, we were at Newcastle. We were all invited as political formations. We were there, and we were all invited to contribute towards a house, and we did so. But to our disappointment, when we came to the parliament there, not even a second that was given to any of the political parties of the women that were there, just to say hello. Not even to speak, because maybe giving a speech was going to be too much. Just to say hello to the people were not given. And we ask ourselves as to why the women's celebration should be within the bracket of the government and be funded by the government, and yet when we reach the destination, other women formations are not considered. Businesses led by women, yes, they are there, but at what percentage? What happens to the rest? KZN women are made 90% of illiterate and semi-illiterate women. People who cannot access the funding that is always there within the government. And then what happens to them? 99.9% of those funded will be politically aligned. If research could be done, you'll find that they're all politically aligned. We talk here about the borders. They open borders to the illegal immigrants. If we talk about the open borders in the illegal immigrants, we are talking about abuse of women. Open borders have brought various heinous crimes in this province, such as human trafficking, bombings, forced prostitution. Our children are turned into prostitutes by these foreign nationals, turning women into drug addicts and drug mules. The failure of political will to deal with the issue of illegal immigrants has led to increased frustrations amongst the people of KZN. And it cannot be that we ignore that the government will just ignore and turn a blind eye to this one. And that reminds me of the IFP manifesto when we said we'll be closing the borders, and then we'll audit each and every foreign international within the country, and then deport those who don't have permissions to be here. Looking at the government's latest report on the status of women in South Africa, it is clear that despite educational gains, women are generally employed in low-skilled occupation. Struggle of gender equality and women empowerment, e.g. gender-based pay gap and underrepresentation in critical positions, especially in private sector, is still dominant. At some point in this province, we had something like SAWID, and we don't know what happened to that one, because it promised about 5 million jobs, it promised about industrialization, it promised about empowerment of all the rural women. At that time, it was 2011 by Minister Lulu Kingwan, but up to this moment, instead of going forward, was still stuck in poverty and unemployment. Instead of going forward, we are regressing. We are concerned as women of this province by the failure of the MECs to address issues and resolutions raised during various women parliaments. They put together long wishy-washy documents that don't speak real issues. Raised during commission of the sitting parliaments, no tangible evidence of service delivery to commitments made across these themed interventions. Related to the economic sector, small and medium enterprises. Some MECs don't even attend these events, undermining the women of KZN. Demands made by the public that are hardly taken into account. As we come back from Newcastle, the public hardly raised their issues. There was no time, I don't know what was happening. The absence of the MECs hinders the required intervention and debate of holding them accountable for the implementation of resolutions taken at various municipalities. Women abuse. All women must be the force behind this fight, especially noting that abuse is not only a physical thing, but it's an emotional, financial, and psychological thing. Amongst you in this house, many women in this room have been working hard to tackle violence against women and children, day in and day out. But it's time for everyone, including men and boys and girls, to realize we are all responsible for eradicating violence against women. It is therefore regrettable that hardly a day passes without reports of murder, rape, beatings, or other forms of violence against women and children at the hands of men. The latest statistics show gender-based violence has reached crisis proportions in the country, with 3 women reportedly dying at the hands of their partners every day. Despite all the awareness campaigns and all that interventions that have been taken, we are not winning the battle. And I think it's high time now for the government to say, yes, we have different ideas with other political parties, but I think it's time now that you take heed from the IFP and open a dialogue on the death penalty. These sickening acts are taking place in all parts of the country, involving... I thank you.
Siyabulela Mhlonitshwa. Olandelayo lilungu elihloniphekileyo umhlonitshwa uS Hussein wemizuzu emine.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. About a year ago, I stood in this House and raised the deeply concerning violence that women endure in our province every day. These debates, Honorable Speaker, have just become a formality. It is conducted merely to satisfy ourselves that we've talked about it. But do we actually care? I have little confidence that this year will be any different. But the DA, Mr. Speaker, will raise these issues until the day the ruling party is seated on this side of the House, and then we will do something about it. Honorable Speaker, I dedicate this speech to a woman who has faced many hardships in life, a woman who, against all odds, went from a little girl in a poor household to occupy one of the highest offices in international arena. Judge Navi Pillay, a descendant of the sugarcane laborers in Clarewood, grew up at a time when it was not fashionable for women to be educated. Yet she persevered and qualified as one of the first women lawyers in the community. Over time, she fought for the rights of political prisoners in Robben Island, including the former President Nelson Mandela. Her deep desire for justice landed her at the United Nations, where she headed up the Human Rights Commission. Judge Navi Pillay's story should serve as an inspiration to all women in our country. The DA extends our heartfelt gratitude to Judge Navi Pillay for her contribution towards justice in our society. Now, in KZN, one woman is raped almost every hour. But does our government care? In KZN, one woman dies almost every 3 hours. But does our government care? The 2 police stations with the highest record of rape cases in the country comes from this province. But does our government even care? Our government in this province prefers to deliver fancy speeches with promises of a better life. But they don't care. They hand out food parcels. Just over a year ago, an audit was conducted at 65 police stations to determine whether it met the requirements to fight domestic violence. Not a single station was compliant, and there has been no consequences for this because this government does not care. There are dozens of police stations that don't even have decent facilities to interview rape victims in a safe and dignified environment because this government does not care. But there are also many policemen and women who are doing everything possible to prevent and fight violence against women. I was extremely impressed with the dedication of the station commanders at Pinetown and Umlazi during my recent oversight visits there. These two individuals deserve an award for commitment. On the other hand, my visits to Westville and Inanda reveal some shocking results. In fact, the situation there is so bad.
Honorable Hussein. Honorable Sanchika, what rule are you rising on?
52D, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, let's go there. Tell us whether the member, okay. Honorable Hussein, the member, Honorable Sanchika, is asking whether are you willing to accept a question relevant to your debate?
No.
Thank you. Sit down, Honorable Member. Continue. Continue, Honorable
On the
Member.
other hand, my visit to Westville and Inanda revealed some shocking results. In fact, the question there is so bad that even the provincial commissioner prevented us from conducting oversights. Yet the Inanda station had the highest number of incidents of violence against women in the country. What does the provincial commissioner have to hide? And why is he preventing us from conducting oversights, which is our constitutional mandate? Well, I give him notice today. We will not rest. The DA intends taking this up with the highest office, and the provincial commissioner will not stand in our way of fighting for the rights of women in this province. I thank you.
The next honorable member is Honorable A.V. Khoza of the EFF for 6 minutes. He is not in the house. Therefore, we'll go to the next member, Honorable V.R. Mlojwa of the NFP for 2 minutes. He is also not in the house. The next member is Honorable P.H. Mbatatele of the ANC for 9 minutes.
Ngiyabonga somlomo. Chairperson, Speaker, ngifisa nje ukuqala ngokusho ukuthi hello is done by the leadership on behalf of all members. Uma kunomcimbi. More than that, all members were introduced and requested to greet the community. I'm not sure whether IFP members wanted to be on top ukuze stage ukuze bakwazi ukuzwakala uhello wabo. Ngiyafisa ukusho nje ukuthi ke ukuhlala lapha phezulu kuyasetshenzelwa ke. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier and Executive, Honorable Chief Whip and Deputy, Honorable Chair of Chairs and Deputy, Honorable members, members in the gallery, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Speaker, I'm standing here today towards the end of the Women's Month, being inspired by a brave woman, Nzinga Mbandi, Queen of Dongo and Matamba in Angola. Mbandi is described as a deft diplomat, skillfulness negotiator, and formidable tactician. According to UNESCO, Queen Nzinga encouraged her people to resist Portugal's colonial influences. She resisted colonization right until her death in 1663. Our heroines, Mae Beta Ngcowa, Lilian Ngoyi, and the others, fought for the emancipation of women. As women, we need to take the baton and move forward. We need to fight the women and children abuse pandemic. Gender-based violence is a shocking reality for so many women in South Africa. It has reached crisis proportions. It affects every community in our country and touches the lives of most families in one way or another. Women are being violated and murdered in the worst manifestation of patriarchal relations. This is not acceptable. The ANC says the fight against gender-based violence must be intensified, and we welcome the growing diverse number of voices that are joining the fight against gender-based violence. Some of the forms of violence that are perpetrated by individuals are rape violence, domestic violence, sexual harassment, mob violence. Honorable Speaker, Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Republic states clearly that everyone is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and benefit of law. Many men assume that they have a right to decide whether or not a girl should go to school or how a woman should dress and behave. Those attitudes are driving the abuse of women across society. Whether they are young or old, black or white, rural or urban, gender conforming or non-gender conforming, men should step up and become better fathers to their daughters, better husbands to their wives, and better boyfriends to their girlfriends. Women are generally treated less equal than men. In terms of accusations, women are found guilty by the society without any recourse to a court. That is why the persistence of patriarchy leads men to think that they are superior to their mothers, to their wives and sisters. Laws have been passed to protect women by the ANC-led government. Specialized courts and units have been set up to prosecute perpetrators of violence and providing shelters for women who have fled from abuse. Honorable members, although courts have been established to deal with violent crime against women and children, the judiciary and magistrates still lack the sensitivity to ensure that the rights of women are upheld. There is still stereotypically and subjective attitudes towards women by courts. Uma enkantolo uyabuzwa ukuthi ngesikhathi udlwengula ubugqokeni uzweni kanti bekumele ugqokeni noma bekumele uzweni. Lokho kwenza besifazana abaningi kakhulukazi abasebancane besabo ukuyobika emthethweni ngokuhlukunyezwa kwabo. Udlame olubhekiswe kwabesifazane asebekhulile ogogo bethu behlukunyezwa umphakathi ngoba bethi bangabathakathi alubekezeleki. Ukuthwala kweingane zisencane ziyoganiswa besilisa abalingana nomkhulu bazo ngoba kuthiwa usiko. Lokho akulunganga ngoba lokho kwephula ilungelo lengane lokuzikhethela umuntu ezomthanda impilo yayo yonke. Ezinye ingane ziphuqa nelungelo lazo lokuyofunda. Honorable Speaker, the 2018 data published by South African Police Services indicates that there were 1,958 reported cases of sexual offences in KZN. The worst areas in respect of this were Inanda, with 380 cases, in Mpangeni 208, and other areas, to name the few. Another study also cited how more than a third of women who have been raped develop post-trauma stress disorder, which if untreated persists the long term and leads to depression, suicide and substance abuse. We call for stricter bail conditions for these actions and harsher sentences in combating violence against women and children, particularly in cases of domestic violence and sexual offenses. Scale up the network of Tutuzela care centers and other victims empowerment centers for a more effective response to incidents of violent sexual acts against women and children. Honorable Speaker, we welcome the appointment of ministerial task teams to guide gender-based violence policy at the universities across the country, and we commend the Minister of Higher Learning Institution, Minister Naledi Pandor, for requesting the inclusion of all higher learning institutions, not only universities. Singabesifazana samsana nokuhlukunyezwa kwendodakazi yomzansi Afrika uCaster Semenya ehlukunyezwa yi-International Association of Athletics Federation ngokungavunyelwa kwakhe ukuba aqhubeke nokugijima ngenxa yesimo somzimba wakhe. Honorable members, if we are to fight discrimination and injustice against women, we must start from our homes. Because if a woman feels unsafe at her own house, she cannot be expected to feel as safe anywhere. South African National Development Plan, Vision 2030, seeks to create a united, prosperous, non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic society. Self-respect, by definition, is a confidence and pride in knowing that your behavior is both honorable and dignified. When you harass or vilify someone, you are not only disrespecting them, but yourself also. Street harassment, sexual harassment, gender-based violence, and racism are all acts committed by a person who in fact has no respect. Respect yourself by respecting others. A man who beats his partner is not a human. Men should recognize that they can be fully free only when women are fully free. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next member on the speakers list is Honorable Esther Rajbanzi of the MF for 2 minutes. She's not in the house. The next, your exclamation, Honorable Member. The next member is Honorable M.E. Phakathi for 2 minutes of the ATM. Honorable Phakathi.
Mama Somlomo, ngiyoba ngenzi kona ubulungiswa uma ngingaqali ngokuthi ngicelebrate umama wami ongizalayo intombi kaMagalela engasekho emhlabeni owacontribute kakhulu empilweni yami ukuze ngibe indoda lengiyiyona namhlanje akalale ngoxolo. We will continue celebrating women who have contributed in the struggle of our liberation. Omama abafana nomama Winnie Mandela, umama uPrincess Mkabayi kaJama, uQueen Nandi, Miriam Makeba, omama abama noma izinto zinzima belwela South Africa ukuthi ayibe South Africa ikhululekile. Ngifuna ke Somlomo ukuthi ngikhulume nawo wonke amadoda ngaphakathi kwalendlu kuqala before siphumele ngaphandle ukuthi uNkulunkulu mayedala owesifazane akadalanga isisebenzi, did not create the helper, kodwa he created help for all of us. Amanye amazwi kumsebenzi wethu njengabantu besilisa abakulendlu ukuthi siba promote abantu besifazane babe seyindaweni eziphezulu ngoba ngaphandle komuntu wesifazane ikhaya alilutho. Ikhaya elingenayo umuntu wesifazane Somlomo likhaya elibandayo. Ikhaya elingenayo umuntu wesifazane Somlomo likhaya elingena direction. Asiqhubekeni njalo sibungaza omama sibaphakamisele phezulu. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, member. The next speaker is Honorable S.E. Manqele of the ACDP for 2 minutes.
Greeting you all, Speaker, and our Honorable Leader. I am going just to say something about the issues of the principle, because my time is little. I want to say this day should be celebrated, and it expresses love and gratitude to us women and its contribution to our lives and society. So the stand of ACDP is that all men, mostly those men who are the followers of Jesus Christ, should celebrate the Women's Day and its month. uNkulunkulu wakuveza lokhu ngamakhosikazi amaningi eBhayibhelini esingabala kubo Ruth, sibale isigangi uRahab, sibale uEsther nabanye Deborah. wakuveza uNkulunkulu ukuthi abantu besifazane they are so important. Uhagar, if you read Genesis 16 verse 13, uyakusho ukuthi noma bekhathazwa noma behlushwa, but at the same time God is looking after them. Uthi God who sees me, and I have now seen the one who sees me. This day should be celebrated. Ekugcineni esomlomo ngiyacela ukuthi umcimbi onjengalo wenziwe futhi namaqembu amancane ebeyingxenye yakhona. Njengokuthi nje uma sekuacknowledgewa amaqembu akhona namaqembu amancane uACDP nabo beacknowledge ukuthi bakhona. Ikakhulukazi kuPremier wethu siyacela lokho. Thank you very much.
Isithethe esilandelayo ngumhlonitshwa uNkosazana Mtuli weDemocratic Alliance imizuzu emine.
Ngiyabonga somlomo mama. Hlasimpe abanye benu niyazi ukuthi ngisanda kuba umama omusha. Ngijabule kabi ukuthi senginengane, ngajabula kakhulu futhi ngazi ukuthi ngizozala ingane yentombazane. Kodwa ukujabula kwami kwafika nokusaba. Ngoba ukuba umuntu wesifazana eNingizimu Afrika noma eKZN into esabisa kakhulu. Kakhulukazi ukuba umuntu wesifazana omnyama. Namanje sisayithola singakakwazi ukuthola intuthuko ekuyona eyalelwa yona ngo-1956. Fanele mabe umuntu wesifazane eSouth Africa usabe ngaso sonke isikhathi. Siyazi ukuthi eKZN abantu besifazana badlungulwa ngaphezulu kwa bonke abantu besifazana kulezinye izifundazwe. Ithina futhi esibulalwayo abantu kufanele ngabe bayasithanda, kufanele ngabe bayasivikela. Kuyasabisa ukuba umuntu wesifazane eSouth Africa. And ngiyacabanga ukuthi mengase uMam Lillian Ngoyi, uMam Albertina Sisulu, Rahim Musa, no Helen Joseph mangase bevuka namhlanje nabo bengathuka ukuthi sisalelwa izinto ezifanayo nalezi nabo babeyilela ngalezo ikhathi. Angeke kuze kusisize ukuthi siqhubeke sicule amaculo njengokuthi igama lamakhosikazi noma ukuthi sisho ukuthi mangabe uthinta abafazi uthinta imbodo uthinta abafazi ngoba akusisizi. And namanje sisasisimene esifanayo nalesi sasikhona ngo-1956. Nyaka nonyaka sikhuluma into efanayo kodwa sikubona ushintsho. Mengabe abantu besifazane ba-1956 bayakwazi ukuthi bemashe benze into enkulu kangaka benganayo ngisho amakhala emakhukhwini, yini okusimisayo thina njengabantu besifazane kuyishayamthetho ukuthi siyeke amaqembu ethu sihlangane njengabantu besifazane silwele abantu abangenawo amandla ababukela thina. Ngijabula kabi ukuthi abantu besifazane kwi-ANC nikwazile ukuthi ninqobe indaba yokuthi nithole i-50% representation. Ngicabanga ukuthi into enhle ukuthi nwazile ukuthi nilwelwe ukuthi nithole i-representation nibe nabantu besifazana abakwazi ukuthi bebe at all levels of uhulumeni. Ingakho-ke ngifuna ukucela nina futhi ngoba inini eniseqembini elibusayo ukuthi ningami lapho. Mengabe nikwazile ukulwela ukuthi nibe ekhundleni nikwazi ukuthola 50% representation, yindaba singakwazi ukulwela ukuthi sibe nama-family friendly units ey'teshini. Sibe namaphoyisa aqeqeshiwe ukuthi ekwazi ukukhuluma kahle nabantu abafikayo beshaywa omnyeni babo noma badlenguliwe. Yindaba singakwazi ukulwela ukuthi kube khona ama-rape kits. Silwele futhi ukuthi kube khona abantu abama-social worker lawa 3,600 ahlezi emakhaya ukuthi kube yibona abaphumayo emphakathini behambe beyokwazisa abantu nemphakathi ngamalungelo abo, whether it's about abortion, whether it's about family planning, whether it's about ukuthi benze njani mengabe beyithola bengaphansi kwencindezi emakubo. Sicela ukuthi nina abantu besifazane omame abaku-ANC nisize ngale nkinga enkulu ekhona ukuthi othisha bayaqhubeka nokudlengula iy'ngane. Ade saqala ukukhuluma ngama-sex offenders role, othisha badlengula iy'ngane igcina seziyi-pregnant, igcina sekuyi-burden kwi-state. Hawu. Yazi vele sathi ngiyangena ngempela. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga. The next speaker, kumhlonishwa, uMamlambo, NP, Nkonyeni, MEC, from the ANC for 10 minutes. Mabel.
Siyabonga kakhulu Somlomo. Ngibingelele undunankulu wethu namalunga wonke eshamthetho akhona. Umbali ngiyafisa ukusho ukuthi cha sonlekelela ukuze nani nigcineni utholile u50%. Lesiyasiqoqo esisibona lapha samadoda asamukelekile impela Mbali. Sizozama ukuthi sikuncedise dadewethu. Honorable Speaker, the record of the African National Congress in working for emancipation of women and gender equality and equity in this country is deeply embedded in the consciousness of our people who have witnessed and embraced the liberation of women in South Africa and across the globe. When our glorious movement was founded in 1912, there was only one woman there, Umamu Charlotte Maxeke. And in the 107 years since then, our grandmothers, our sisters, and our daughters have built the women's movement into a formidable force to be reckoned with. Siyabona, with African National Congress, into yokuthi abantu besifazane, i-representation yakhona, fanele be 50% and above, iyabonakala. Bakhala kabanye, ay, tina policy, so akusekho lokho. We can point to several trailblazers in various sectors and industries, in business, in petrochemical industries, in aviation industries, in the blue economy. You will find women there because of the African National Congress-led government that have strived by all means to ensure that women do participate in all industries. Of course, we cannot be complacent. We still need to improve on the statistics that are presented before us. We can point to women as beneficiaries of land redistribution. We have distributed title deeds to women. The other day, myself and Honorable Khoza handed over title deeds to women in the area of Umhlatuze. And some of them are still very young. But because we do not have an exclusionary policy as the African National Congress-led government, we are giving out title deeds, we are giving out houses to everybody, including women. We have seen women participating in various industries like the agricultural industry and other industries. At this point, honorable members, may I add my tribute to women of this nation, to Dr. Thandi Ndlovu of Motheo Construction, whose tragic passing at the weekend has shocked our nation. Her pioneering role in the construction industry serves as an inspiration to legions of women. May her soul rest in peace, and may her soul rise in glory. As women, and Black African women in particular, it has been no easy road getting where we are, but here we are today. The ANC Women's League and the other structures in which we participate, from the unions to our women's caucuses, are forces to be reckoned with. Of course, nothing about us happens without us also participating and spearheading whatever needs to be spearheaded. It is an advice for Umbali and others that your voice should be heard. Ngiyakuzwa sowukhala ngapha kwaKhongolose, buya ntombazana uze kwaKhongolose, izwi lakho liyozwakala mawuza ngapha. We are also proud of the international spirit of the South African women's movement, where our experiences in organization, mobilization and support have influenced the women's movement globally. We count among these UN Women and the Pan-African Parliament. A fortnight ago, Human Settlements and Public Works hosted a successful empowerment of women in the Built Environment Summit. In addressing almost 500 women delegates, I did refer to the proud history of Mamu Charlotte Maxeke. Not many of the delegates were aware of her life and work. In the course of this debate, where we pay tribute to the legions of women who navigated the path of fighting for justice before us, please allow me to enter into the record of this House Mam Charlotte Maxeke's extraordinary story as a pioneering African woman who also served as the leader of the African National Congress and the ANC Women's League. Her life and work is constant inspiration to us. Her story is in our library books, and we must tell it as often as possible to inspire our people. As a young 23-year-old woman, Mam Charlotte Maxeke traveled from her home in Limpopo to America as part of the touring company of choristers. It was there in 1901 that she graduated with a BSc degree, something that was never heard of during that particular period. We proudly record her as the first black woman in South Africa to get a degree. She was, however, not content to be a woman with a degree, ready for a life of comfort and personal material prosperity. Her education was to be a tool of struggle for the freedom and empowerment of her oppressed people. On returning home with her husband, the Maxekes raised funds to build a primary and a high school, as well as a teacher training college. Can you imagine a woman building a teacher training college in South Africa? That would be a formidable achievement today, let alone at the turn of the last century, at the height of colonial oppression and apartheid repressive government. Mam Charlotte Maxeke was the lone woman in the room when the African National Congress was founded. History records as having made a formidable contribution. Masidlula lapho ke, honorable members, what always inspires us as women of the African National Congress is what Mam Maxeke always told us as we read about her in history books. She said, and I quote, "The work is not for oneself. Kill the spirit of self and do not live above your people, but with them. If you rise above them, take somebody with you." I close quotes. Take somebody with you. That is exactly what we as the African National Congress are trying to do. Patriarchy remains a powerful force which continues to hinder women's fight against historic injustices. Amongst those historical injustices is our unfinished business in our struggle for land. Honorable members, let us be reminded that when the ANC was founded, it was to unite our people in the face of the colonial divide policy. As isolated kingdoms, nations, and tribes, it was easier to divide and subjugate us. And as a united force with the ANC at the helm, the face of political contestation for the past 107 years have changed drastically. And women have been working side by side with their male counterparts. We are celebrating a number of women today because of the African National Congress. When we speak the language of radical socio-economic transformation, our posture is to ensure that women, young people, and people with disabilities in particular are at the top of that priority list. Radical in socio-economic transformation should also benefit
time.
women. Malibongwe.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Now, to end the debate, the Honorable Premier is going to provide his response in 10 minutes. Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to premise the response on this debate by thanking all members who participated in the debate, but also thank all of the political parties that participated in the proceedings of the Women's Month in the main, the 9th of August. Having said that, I think we should applaud Honorable Khoza for emphasizing the point that we need to ensure that as departments, we budget for programs dedicated for women emancipation, be it social or economical. We need to ensure that we enforce that, and she's correct in saying the Premier's office has a responsibility to oversee that. We will do that without fail. Allow me to appreciate the courage and the weight expressed by Honorable Mbatha-Cele, imploring us not just to think of today, but to think strategically on what the National Development Plan put to us in as far as building a gender-free or gender equality in South Africa as part of Vision 2030. Her emphasis on the struggles to support women emancipation, even in the sport fraternity, is quite correct, and we all need to support the likes of Caster Semenya. I take to heart the words of Honorable Phakathi. Indeed, let us take women not as helpers of us and deal with that stereotype that hold men to some kind of superiority. My sincere apologies to Honorable Member Manqele for not acknowledging the ACDP nomfundisi uqobo lwakhe kwaba liphutha shwele mfundisi ikholo liyathethelela. Honorable members, I'm very happy to hear what have been said by many members. However, I'll forgive Honorable T.J. Gumede because she did say angazi, and she repeated that statement. She accused us of not preserving the legacy of women who struggled, those especially who were not part of the liberation struggle of the ANC. She just forget to understand that in this complex where we are meeting, there is a caucus room of the African National Congress. And that caucus room is named Ingcuce, the regiment of the first warriors zabesifazane zaKwaZulu. Angazi noma akakwazi nalokho umhlonishwa. Engathi umhlonishwa ukhohlwa okuningi. Ukhohlwa ngisho ukuthi ngesikhathi ANC ithatha over ngo-2004 kwakhona izinto eziningi ezazikhona ezaqanjwa kabusha. Kodwa i-ANC deliberately ayilishintshanga igama le-stadium esikhulu sakwaMashu, i-Princess Magogo Stadium. Nanamuhla ngeke sikwenze lokho. Ngiyofisa umhlonishwa angalibali into eyiseduze neyisobala. I will agree with Honorable Hussein. Let's celebrate the contribution of women. And you correctly pointed out Judge Navi Pillay, an activist of human rights, internationally acclaimed. And I think let's complete the list. Complete the list, include Shamila Patoi, include Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, include Nkosazane Dlamini Zuma. In the same breast, include in your thinking what Honorable Mbatacele referred us to, the struggle of Caster Semenya. Don't forget Nomzamo Mbata from KwaMashu, who have made her name in the international arena within the film and television industry. Don't let your list be not shortened. Let it be non-racial and include all women in various sectors. I want to agree that Honorable Ntuli, the ANC women and the ANC Women's League in particular is a right to liberate oppressed women even in other political organizations. The ANC need to conscientize all of you, including yourself, but I would like to reason with your points today. Some were quite genuine about the plight of women in this country. However, it will be making a mistake if you continue to say there is no effort that is being done. Domestic violence, rape in schools have been attended thoroughly by the ANC-led government. Some of the teachers even said it is now a problem, the manner in which government is standing on the side of the victims, even affect some of them to go out and choose teaching. Let's not be selective. Let's appreciate where there is an effort. MEC Nkonyeni, Honorable Nkonyeni, reminded this House that
Roll, Honorable Member.
ubheke newash.
52D. Honorable Premier, the Honorable Member is asking whether she can ask you a question.
I will accept the question.
Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Premier, when you say that's been dealt with thoroughly, would you agree that you have not implemented a sex offenders rule and so therefore children are still being raped by teachers who are then moved to other posts? That cannot be thorough if we have people who are raping children.
No, you
being
were
able to
asking
be-
the question. Now you are going
It is
to
a
some
question.
other thing.
Yeah,
It is a
Yes,
question.
you ask a question, ma'am, and you pause, allow the Premier to respond.
It's a question.
thank you.
Okay,
In answering your question, I think a lot have been done. And we cannot just address issues that relate to domestic violence and abuse in a broad debate. I will appreciate to make a policy statement accounting on the progress we are making in that regard, and I will do so. Thank you. Honorable Nkonyeni, I think we must applaud, as she indeed indicated. Under the ANC-led government, we've seen women getting title deed By the way, uyakhuluma umhlonishwa ngapha. Ukumhlonipha nje umhlonishwa. Wakwaba ungqongqoshe ngapha. I think wasikazana kwa Public Works. Ngiyafisa nje ukusho ukuthi under this government we have managed to give women even title deeds. Banemhlaba namuhla, banamaplazi namuhla. Yilo hulumeni ka-ANC. When looking back down the memory of our revolution and the struggle for liberation, seeing what the apartheid regime did to many women, including Victoria Mxenge, Jabu Ndlovu, Portia Ndwandu, I fully concur that the poem written by Maya Angelou referred to them, as it said, "Did you want to see me broken, bow head and lower eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? You shoot me down with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like the air, I'll rise. May the glory names of gallant heroes of our revolution rise and inspire young girls for the prosperity of South Africa. May life and the future be kind to young girls who are suffering bullying in schools. And what was said here, that we who are here must be the prophets and must continue to teach gender equality. I believe it is important. We're all called to struggle, put aside political differences, do not use subjects such as these that affect people outside political identity as something for point scoring. Let us unite and tackle challenges that are undermining prosperity of our society. Let's work together and grow South Africa together. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. That concludes the first debate on the orders of the day. Now we are going to move to item number 9.2, which is the debate on the ANC motion. But before we move into that, I want to bring it to the attention of the members that according to the order paper, item 9.2, we have the first ANC motion. I have received an apology that Honorable N.R. Majola is unwell and have tabled it to the House and have therefore invoked Rule 73.1, which states that, I quote, subject to Rule 2, a member may take charge of a motion or an order of the day in the absence of the member in charge, provided that he or she has been authorized to do so by the absent member. Honorable Majola has invoked that rule and have sent to the Office of the Speaker the authorization that Honorable N.M. Sibia take charge on her behalf. And I have thus allowed for that arrangement. Now we will call upon Honorable N.M. Sibia to introduce the motion on behalf of the mover, N.R. Majola. Honorable Sibia, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me greet the Premier of this province, Baba Khuzeni, the MECs in the House and all the members and our guests in the gallery. Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity of sponsoring this motion on the most critical indicator, which is one of the National Development Plan 2030 vision, sub-outcome 9. I'm presenting this motion at a time when one of the intervention strategies called National Health Insurance, NHI, is not a choice but a mandate in responding to the sub-outcome 4, dealing with reduction of health costs, making it accessible to all South Africans. Speaker, we all know that the indicator deals with most vulnerable groups women and children. ANC-led government under NDP 2030 identified health as outcome number 2, where it emphasized the need for a long and healthy life for all South Africans. This happened because the choice was left with us as elected government to achieve that vision of long life for all. Speaker, there is a performance agreement which was signed by President in 2010 called Negotiated Service Level Agreement that mandated Department of Health to provide 4 identifiable and measurable outputs with ultimate aim of ensuring a healthy life for all South Africans. Over and above those 4 identifiable outcomes, Honorable Speaker, set by government to achieve, the department also have a 10-point plan program which was presented in 2009, which is used as a guide on how to go about achieving all these outcomes. Honorable Speaker, the study conducted by our own scientists and researchers in South Africa clearly revealed 4 major pandemics. The first, most and extensive pandemic is that of HIV and AIDS and tuberculosis. And the second one, Speaker, is maternal and child mortality. The third is an alarming and ever-increasing incidence of non-communicable diseases, that is high blood pressure and other cardiovascular diseases, most predisposing women to morbidity during their antenatal period. The fourth one and last one is the one that every South African knows about because we all worry about it daily due to what media both on print and electronic have taken upon themselves to speak about it, and that is pandemic of violence and injury. Speaker, if all 4 pandemics could be spoken about daily with an intent to find solutions, not using it as an instrument to attack individuals, public hospitals and health workers as a form of witch hunt, this is not a solution in our daily search for solutions for our province as well as our country. All what has been identified, evidently, there is a very serious underlying problem that needs our attention. The issue of inequitable distribution of human and financial resources between public and private sector, where resources are seriously skewed in favor of the private sector, which serves 16% of the population, in contrast to the public sector, which serves a whopping population of 84%, which is black in majority. Statistically, gains made by democratic government, empirical evidence is that life expectancy has increased from 57.1% to 61.3% from 2008 to 2012. And believe me, Speaker, it has even increased even further as we speak today in 2019. Under 5 mortality rate reduced from 56 to 41 deaths per 1,000 lives. Infant mortality rate reduced from 31 to 27 deaths by 2012. The decrease in mother-to-child transmission of HIV from 85% in 2008 to 3.5%, from 85% in 2008 down to 3.5% in 2010, and that is massive. This was due to the intervention strategy, namely a PMTCT program, and it further took it down now to 2.1% in 2011. This program has also been made possible by another strategy called Basic Antenatal Care, which is BANC, where early reporting of pregnant mothers to health facilities was made possible by using National Health System, NHS, which is our bottom approach as the government in the health sector. Our communities were given an opportunity of taking care of their health by having input in healthcare programs through clinic committees, hospital boards, like government and directly observed treatment supporters, both TB and ARVs, as well as capacitated community health workers. This has not only happened away from district monitoring and evaluation of all primary healthcare facilities, feeding a mother hospital. This is being done by a trained district team. The commencement of antiretroviral based on the CD4 count at 14 weeks in pregnant mothers rather than 28 weeks, and treating HIV positive newborns regardless of CD4 count has gone a long way in reversing the tide of HIV and AIDS. All such measures were started in April 2010. Siyabulela ku hulumeni ka ANC ubaba uNcamalala waye uphethe ngaleso sikhathi kwasetshenzwa kakhulu.
Well, part of the problem is for
Speaker,
years, you said it's
yes,
not a-
indeed, there is reduction in MMR as well as IMR and under 5. This was also made possible by decentralization of ARVs initiation by trained health workers and primary health care level. At primary health care level, taking into consideration the unemployment level and poverty rate of our beneficiaries of health service. The launch of male medical circumcision through the House of Traditional Leaders as a preventative measure. Speaker, we know for a fact that high maternal and child mortality is not a death of a woman, but it is a death of a woman because she fell pregnant. She became vulnerable by bringing somebody to this world. It is a fact that even the mortality brought upon by HIV and AIDS is disproportionately affecting young women of childbearing age more than men. This leaves the country with child-headed families, which are more of maternal orphans. The reason, Honorable Speaker, to commend the government in implanting all the strategies meant for reduction of maternal and child mortality rate is because this situation, if not nipped from the bud or prevented, we will be experiencing more negative societal consequences beyond healthcare, which is crime, poor educational outcomes, teenage pregnancies, and abortions. Also, and eventually total societal disorientation of young husbands. Towards the end, I wish to call upon government and social partners to absorb and apply cost-effective interventions at individual and community levels with a view to addressing preventable diseases. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, I wish to voice out that societies with a high level of gender inequality are slower and less likely to address women-specific health outcomes. It is so imperative to give political voice to women to reduce rates of death in childbirth. Empowering women politically may be a powerful low-cost intervention to improve maternal health and reduce maternal mortality. Honorable Speaker, asiubongela uhulumeni we-ANC ngendlela osusukume ngayo wenza sure ukuthi bonke abantu base-South Africa bazokwazi ukuthi bakwazi ukuthola impilo engcono ngokuthi ba-accesse izibhedlela zonkana nazo zonke indawo eziyimtholampilo ezikhona ekutheni bakwazi ukuthola ukulashwa okulingana nawo wonke umuntu ngohlelo lwe-NHI esilubonayo ukuthi njengamanje sililindele ngamehlo abomvu ngoba lizokwenza umehluko omkhulu kubantu bakithi, ikakhulukazi abantu bakithi labo ebebebukelwa phansi kubonakala sengathi bona kufanele bathole ukwelashwa ngendlela engcono. I-ANC kuyasicacela namanje ukuthi yona kuphela eyokwenza umehluko ezimpilweni zabantu bakithi, ikakhulukazi abamnyama nalabo abahluphekile abangenalutho. Sithi qhubeka njalo Khongolo senokuphilisa abantu bakithi. Siyabonga.
Thank you. The next speaker on the list is from the African National Congress, Honorable Sipho Nkosi, for 9 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for allowing us to take this podium on behalf of this movement of our people. And we also wanted to thank Honorable N.R. Majola for presenting such a motion. Thank you very much, Sotobe, ukuthi ubusuyamsebenzela umnikezele the motion. I think it is prudent for me to salute this motion, which touches a matter of national importance, which is the role of a government department in pursuing one of its mandate. This motion acknowledges the good efforts of the KZN government in all departments in general and in health in particular. Honorable Speaker, having said this above, the ANC is true to its commitment way back 2009 when it proclaimed that education and health would be its government's apex priorities. It is important to note that even today, these 2+ skills are still one of the 7 priorities of our government. Looking at Stats SA latest survey in Kwazulu Natal, one sees that the life expectancy for both males and females has improved in leaps and bounds to beyond 60 years here in Kwazulu Natal alone. This is achieved through a lot of resources injected in the Department of Health. To prove this, I wish to remind us about the budgets allocated in the Department of Health, starting specifically from 2015-2016 financial year. In that year alone, the budget of 32.9 billion rand was given to the Department of Health. And as we speak today, it is just beyond 45 billion rand. It increases both in the form of equitable share and conditional grants. Relevant to this motion are allocation to the Department of Health under the conditional grant called Health Facility Revitalization Grant, which was at 1.22 billion rand in 2015-2016, but now has steadily increased to 1.35 billion, despite all the economic difficulties we face. The HIV, TB, malaria, and community outreach grant was 3.8 billion rand in 2015-2016, but now it has been increased to 5.8 billion rand in 2019-2020. At a glance, even the most foolish individual sees that the ANC-led government cares about the lives and the well-being of the citizens of this glorious province of KwaZulu-Natal. He or she can see that our government's planning is long-term, while at the same time it is people-centered. It is people-centered. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to show where did this injection of resources went to. Just a few kilometers away from here, there is a living example in Grace Hospital. In 2013, this hospital benefited from the Revite grant when the neonatal intensive care unit started to be constructed. As we know, Grace Hospital is a level 3 referral hospital. Being level 3, it gives it an advantage of employing many specialists in different specialties. This NICU, as they call it, I interviewed the 2 doctors with the permission from the Department of Health. I did not just get crashed there. This NICU, as they call it, was completed towards the end of September 2016 at a cost of 12.7 million rand. Grace Hospital was expected to comply with infection prevention and control guidelines by improving the space between beds and updating the services around each bed. The main aim was to improve access to tertiary care for the newborns in this western part of our province. Before this construction, there were only 24 beds in this NICU. But when I went there yesterday to interview the activists there, the specialists, there were about 36 beds which I could see on my own. In this NICU, sick babies around and far away from Grace Hospital are referred to this hospital. These babies are given 24-hour top care in a conducive environment. If you can go there, you will see what I could see. Honorable Speaker, It is worth noting that in the past, overcrowding at this hospital specifically was a common sight, and to alleviate it, this hospital had to buy space in the neighboring private hospitals at a huge cost of money. Speaking to the two specialists who work in NICU themselves, one picked up that the mortality rate has been drastically decreased, which is very, very happy. When they gave me statistics, I was quite surprised. Before this NICU was constructed and up to the past 4 or 5 years. Honorable Speaker, through the very same health facility revitalization grant, the ICU for adults was also built, which is currently having 21 beds from a mere 7. Taking into account the reported success at Grace Hospital, one can say without any fear of contradiction that the 3 objectives of this grant are being achieved as we speak. For us to understand what are they, I think I need to remind this House, because it appears to the Green Book of 2015-2016. One is to accelerate construction, maintenance, upgrading, and rehabilitation of health infrastructure in a province. 2, to transform hospital management and improve quality of care, which we saw in Grace Hospital. 3, to supplement the provincial funding on infrastructure and accelerate the provision of world-class equipment, which were explained to me, just an ordinary teacher. Honorable Speaker, I move to the successes achieved in dealing with HIV and AIDS and TB in the whole province of Kwazulu Natal. Remarkable achievements were recorded around the financial year of 2016-2017. The prevention and reduction of the burden of disease was confronted, focusing on the maternal, neonatal, child and women's health, nutrition, as well as other conditions. The mother-to-child transmission rate of HIV was reduced to 1% by March 2017. The same with the deaths of mothers when they were giving birth, from around 100,000 down to 115. Then these are the achievements that we have seen in this ANC-led government. Sitawuqhubeka uhulumeni usebenzela abantu abawuvotele. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you. The next speaker will be from the IFP, Honorable Mam Nkwanyana.
Honorable Chairperson, improving the well-being of mothers, infants, and children is an important public health goal for Kwazulu Natal, as their well-being determines the health of next generation and can help predict future public health challenges for families, communities, and healthcare system. The IFP notes that the National Department of Health is committed in reducing mortality and morbidity amongst mothers and children. This commitment is reflected in the negotiated service delivery, which was given in 2010 and which identifies reductions in maternal and child mortality as key strategic outcomes for the South African health sector. We therefore welcome and applaud initiatives undertaken by the KZN Department of Health in ensuring that death of immature born babies is prevented. This was evident when the Department of Health opened the neonatal ICU unit at Grace Hospital, which holds 35 beds for critically ill newborns with ventilators and continuous positive airway pressure machines. We noted with concerns that during the official opening of this unit, the chief neonatologist at Grace Hospital, Dr. Graham Ducase, raised serious staff shortage concerns. He alluded that out of 35 total number of beds in the unit, only 24 are being used due to shortage of nurses. We want to urge the MEC of Health, Nomagugu Simelane Zulu, to ensure that staff shortage in this unit is addressed. More to be done. The risk of maternal infant mortality and pregnancy-related complications can be reduced by increasing access to quality preconception, prenatal and interconception care. Moreover, healthy birth outcomes and early identification and treatment of developmental delays and disabilities and other health conditions among infants can prevent death or disability and enable children to reach their full potential. The IFP believes in improving women's health before, during, and beyond pregnancy and across their life course. 2, improving the quality and safety of maternity care. 3, and improving systems of maternity care, including both clinical and public health systems. The key medical interventions are well known when improving women's health during pregnancy, providing appropriate care for newborn at birth and care for the baby in the first week of life. Also, interventions are needed that address social, dietary, and financial issues that act as barriers to seek care. An important intervention is providing comprehensive health promotion, especially in rural communities, to women and families regarding care before and after delivery of newborns through appropriate training of healthcare workers. The cost-effective, feasible intervention that health promotion interventions can target should include initiating breastfeeding within one hour of birth and exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months, proper cord care and keeping the baby warm after birth, and awareness of danger signs to then seek care with availability of antibiotics and special care to those children with low birth weight. Additionally, it is essential that skilled health workers are present at every birth, including those in rural settings. The availability of quality care and quality emergency neonatal care and the referral system are equally important. Attracting newly trained doctors and nurses to stay in the province and improving the health, communication, and transport infrastructure at an affordable cost are basic prerequisites for neonatal health. Improving the health and well-being of infants, children, and young people is not just about clinical and care services or health promotions. It needs to be reflected in broader economic and social policy, including housing, education, and welfare benefits. The partnerships and interfaces that are needed for this are different to those for adults and require a particular system of leadership. It is particularly important to prioritize action on inequalities in childcare. The IFP believes that delivery of comprehensive quality maternal, newborn, child, and women's health services is dependent on well-functioning health system. If the health system is in bad state, this has a negative effect on providing quality health care to people. The IFP further believes that more investment from the government towards healthcare facilities in the province, especially in rural areas, is necessary. The health system effectiveness should include up-to-date evidence-based care on correct diagnosis and antibiotics. The protocols need not to be quality technical. They could include provision of basic screening tests and the substitution of low-technology radiant heaters and room heaters for expensive incubators. Additionally, a revision of medical education needs to include training healthcare providers to listen to needs and fears of parents, and issues, privacy and confidentiality should be emphasized. However, though preventive and good curative intervention should be the priority, emergency and critical care facilities should also be developed proportionately. Neonatal mortality could be reduced theoretically by adding neonatal intensive care units at a few key hospitals, both in rural and urban facilities. Nurses assume an important role in the contents of NICU because they develop collaborative work with the physician in the strategies and decisions, provide direct care to the newborn, and give support to the family. In the rural communities where access of health facilities is poor, improvements in maternal, newborn and child healthcare requirements, interventions that increase both the supply and demand of appropriate care, bringing more women into contact with the public and private healthcare system early in pregnancy is critical to improving maternal and newborn health. To reduce early deaths even further, KwaZulu Natal must target the poorest populations where infant and child mortality has not declined at the same pace as the rest of the nation. Strategies are needed as well as to tackle respiratory and other infections, especially in the neonatal period, through improved immediate newborn care practices and better management of illness. The national policy should address neonatal health and survival, and the existing program should be strengthened, consolidated, and expanded by the application of cost-effective strategies. Advocacy is required to mobilize resources. The Department of Health needs to advocate speeding up of provincial developmental efforts. The essential neonatal care package should be continuously refined to be cost-effective, evidence-based, and appropriate to the cultural context. Long-term goals realization will take time. Hence, in the interim period, capacity building and supervision of existing facility healthcare workers, along with traditional birth attendants, community health volunteers and families should be included. Monitoring and evaluation should be an inherited part of intervention program. Follow-up is very useful in solving problems, in reinforcing the skills and maintaining motivation. At present, supportive supervision is deficient. Training of supervisors to consider supervision as supportive rather than a fault-finding exercise can strengthen this. Critical areas to be supervised are to be identified. Supervisory checklist can provide useful guidance. During supervision, records can be reviewed, deficiencies in suppliers identified, and problems solved. Programs provide little resources for supervision. Provision of transport and allowances to the healthcare workers for supervision needs attention in the program. Medicine commodities, vaccines, and essential equipment have to be made available through a responsible and responsive health system. Empowerment of families and communities to provide essential neonatal care will contribute to improvement. The demand to use the health system has to be increased from the existing low rates to optimal use of the facilities. The IFP believes that more NICU units must be introduced in rural hospitals. It must be ensured that breastfeeding mothers are well looked after in a form of hygiene and well-balanced diet. Deputy Chairperson, I thank you. Thank you very much.
Asibonge. Siqhubekele phambili. Sicela isikhulumi se-DA umhlonishwa uArvirana imizuzu emihlanu nje kuphela.
Thank you, Chairperson. The fight to improve maternal and infant health outcome is vitally important to the development of South Africa. Women play a vital role in the development of future generations, in raising intelligent, conscientious, and patriotic citizens. Maternal health is thus recognized by the United Nations and prioritized as under Goal 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals. There is a global effort in reducing maternal mortality to below 70 per 100,000 live births, and KwaZulu Natal needs to play its part in this battle. As the Democratic Alliance, we welcome the infrastructure steps taken by the Department of Health. These include the upgrading of facilities at Queen Nandi and Gray's hospitals. And the DA affirms the resolution in this motion that the Health Portfolio Committee increase its oversight of the infrastructure rollout and its budget. This is especially important in a department that underspent its infrastructure budget by 3 million rand. While this does not seem like a big amount in the big scheme of the health budget, to a newborn or a woman in labor at a rural hospital, that additional bed would have made a huge difference in their lives. But infrastructure alone is not the solution to reducing maternal mortality rates and infant morbidity rates. The problem in KwaZulu-Natal is extensive, and unfortunately, it has gotten worse under this ANC government. Maternal mortality has risen to 109 deaths per 100,000 live births and from the previous year. Medical legal claims have also increased exponentially, with the department having paid 430 million rand in claims in the last financial year alone, with another 18.7 billion rand of claims awaiting finalization. The department's own closeout report indicates that the main contributory factor is the lack of obstetricians, pediatricians, and specialist nurses, and this is especially at regional hospitals. So while central or tertiary hospitals like Gray's are doing well in terms of staffing, it is the regional hospitals like Port Shepstone, like Queen Nandi, like Newcastle, are the ones that are where the majority of these negative outcomes are found. According to a parliamentary reply, regional hospitals have 21 specialist vacancies and 110 professional nurse vacancies, and this is specific for the obstetrics and the pediatric departments. This new MEC inherited a department in chaos, but hopefully she will listen to advice from opposition parties. It is especially important and it is appreciative that we are still in Women's Month, because the MEC can learn from another woman in South Africa that is doing a great job in improving health outcomes for South African citizens. And this woman is MEC Noma French Mbambo from the Western Cape. It is under the DA and her capable management that the Western Cape has the lowest medical legal claims in the country, the lowest maternal and neonatal mortality rates, the highest specialist retention rates, and the highest life expectancy in South Africa. With over 6,000 student bursaries and agreements with the local medical schools, the Western Cape has ensured that it has enough doctors and specialists trained for its population. Now the question is, does the KZN Department of Health have a similar agreement with Nelson Mandela School of Medicine? Are we training enough doctors and specialists for our health needs in this province, like the DA has done in the Western Cape? KwaZulu-Natal needs a capable government, and we need this MEC to deal with the over 1.4 billion rand in irregular expenditure, the over 8 million rand in fruitless and wasteful expenditure. It is only under a capable government that health outcomes will improve in KwaZulu-Natal. The DA has done it in the Western Cape, and we will do it here in KwaZulu-Natal as well. Thank you, Chair.
We are now going to move, we are supposed to move to EFF. Ngibona ngathi ku-clean lapha. We can then move to NFP. Ngathi nayo ayikho. Then the African National Congress Speaker, Honorable Promise.
Thank you,
Zungu.
Chairperson. Chairperson of the House, honorable members of the House, and guests present here today, I greet you all. I stand here today to present nothing but the facts, as I am going to narrate partly my story. I am also the beneficiary of the ARVs. I am the one that was diagnosed in 1995 and started treatment in 2008. Since now I'm standing here, I'm living positively. All thanks to the glorious movement that is the ANC, who made it a point that the lives of the people like me are saved. Chairperson, when looking at the role played by the ANC-led government in ensuring that healthy lives and promoting well-being for all, one will not be doing justice for not supporting, acknowledging the work that is done thus far. Since the introduction of the Millennium Development Goals, there have been historic achievements in reducing child mortality, improving maternal health, and tackling HIV/AIDS and other diseases. In 15 years, the number of newly HIV-infected people has dropped from 3.1 million to 2 million, and over 6.2 million lives were saved, including mine, and many of you that are scared to talk about it. Since 1990, maternal mortality fell by 45%, and worldwide has been a decline of over 50% in preventable child death globally. Despite the incredible progress, AIDS is still the leading cause of death among adolescents in sub-Saharan South Africa. And 22 million people living with HIV are not accessing a life-saving antiretroviral therapy. The new HIV infection continue to rise in some locations and in populations that are typically excluded or marginalized. Chronic and catastrophic disease remain one of the main factors that push households from poverty into deprivation. Non-communicable diseases, which is referred to as NCDs, impose a large burden on human health worldwide. Currently, 63% of all deaths worldwide stem from NCDs. Chiefly cardiovascular disease, cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes. The cumulative economic loss to low and middle class income countries from the four diseases are estimated to surpass $7 trillion by 2025. Additionally, there continues to be an underinvestment in the social circumstances of the environmental factors affecting health. The job on HIV and health is far from done. Recognizing the interdependence of health and development, the Sustainable Development Goals provide an ambitious, comprehensive plan of action for people to prosper and for ending the injustices that underpin poor health and development outcomes. Sustainable Development Goal number 3 aspires to promote health and well-being for all, including the bold commitment to end epidemics and AIDS and the communicable diseases by 2030. It also aims to achieve universal health coverage, and provide access to safe, effective medicines and vaccines for all. Supporting research and development for vaccines, an essential part of this process, as well as expanding the access to affordable medicines. Promoting health and well-being is one of the 17 global goals that make up the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. An integrated approach is crucial for progress across the multiple goals. In South African context, the following milestones have been reached according to the national framework introduced in 2011, where there was elimination of mother-to-child transmission. It was spelled clearly that by 2015, there will be no child born with HIV. Also citing the achievement, the milestone from 2007, 2018 has been stated by other presenters. It should be clear that in 2008, PMTCA, a plan was launched where all 18 districts were prioritized. In 2009, where the president of the ANC and the country, President Zuma, announced a new strategy for increasing access to ART, including highly active ART for pregnant women. There was move from nevaropin into PMTCT, into MNCWH, that is task shifting. Chair, while South Africa has been mentioned as one of the countries with the highest number of people infected with HIV, it's similarly commendable that it is one of the countries with the largest number of patients on antiretroviral treatment. And we have seen tremendous effects with people living longer as a result of this improved access to ARVs. It is even more highly recommendable that, Chair, the priority has been given to pregnant women to access the ARVs. As a country and as a province, we have even moved from embarking on prevention of mother-to-child transmission, and all effects are towards eliminating the mother-to-child of HIV infection. That we do with the hope of ensuring that we're having a generation that is going to be HIV-free. The ANC is the only party that cares. Siyasupporta ukuthi iqhubeke yenze umsebenzi wayo wokunakekela impilo zabantu bonke, ibambisene nomnyango, i-civil society, umnyango we-department waka-health, nazo zonke inhlaka ezisebenzela ukuthi kuthuthukiswe impilo zabantu. Sikuqala-ke ngesizukulwane lesi esivumelene ngaso ukuthi ngo-2015 siyofisa ukuthi kungabe sababikho umntwana ozozalwa negciwane. As we speak, KZN is even below the national target. The national target is saying it should be 1.5. As KZN, njengoba 2019, we are at 80.6% in terms of the mother-to-child transmission. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you. Now let's hear from the minority front. Honorable Taku Rajpanse.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The MF welcomes this ANC motion. Every year, almost 600,000 women die globally from pregnancy-related complications, whilst 23 million, 15% of all pregnant women develop life-threatening complications, especially in developing countries like South Africa. Honorable members, South Africa has one of the highest ratios of maternal mortality, of 269 deaths per 100,000 live births in the world, and much effort has gone into reducing it, since it represents the obstetric risk associated with each pregnancy. MMR is the number of maternal deaths per 100,000 live births, and is to a large degree recognized as a general indicator of the overall health of a population, the status of women in society, and the functioning of the health system. Therefore, MMR is an SDG indicator, where SDG 3 has a revised target of less than 70 per 100,000 live births. South Africa cannot miss this goal. According to Indaba 2013, South African maternity units are very busy, but they're also understaffed, making these more susceptible to medico-legal hazards. Whilst the number of women delivering in South African public hospitals is high, the maternal death rates are also still high, suggesting poor quality of nursing care during labor or post-delivery. More worrisome is that Moore and Slabbert indicated or found that most litigation arises from unprofessional and substandard care rendered by midwives. Hence, honorable members, improving patient safety culture in South Africa is therefore imperative because of the rising medical lawsuits, mainly against our public hospitals. Broughton emphasized that this is the main threat that can derail the health system, stating that the Kwazulu Natal Department of Health had medical negligence claims close to R1 billion attributed to the failure of clinical governance. We accept this motion.
Ake sithole ke inkulumo for okhethiweyo uNkulunkulu. Baba Manqane, Honorable.
Hallelujah. Greeting, Chair. ACDP also welcomed the proposal. But in having said that, we want to emphasize that equipment and facilities should be well serviced. There are those instances where lives are lost unnecessarily because of the pressure that is on the system. Again, the Department of Health must look at the issue of overcrowding. Some of the hospitals are overcrowded. I assume that that is mainly because there is a poor planning from the side of the government. ACDP appealed that the nesting staff in service training for motivations and restoration of love of their work and willingness to always helping their patient should be provided. It is understood that nurses, at some times, they refuse to do their work by heart. You'll remember that in a hospital called Rahima Musa Hospital, a number of children died while nurses were refused to help the pregnant patients. So every time we see a number of deaths, according to the statistics, and siyafisa ukuthola onesi abanothando lokufunza umuntu ogulayo, abanothando lokubekezelela umuntu ogulayo. Ungafici ukudla kubekiwe nje kuthiwa dlana kodwa kwaziwa ukuthi umuntu akakwazi ngisho ukuyifunza. Ngakho i-Department of Health siyacela ukuthi ikubheke lokho ikunakekele. Ngiyabonga.
Ubonga thina mfundisi. Let's now move to DA again, Honorable Alvirana.
Thank you, Chairperson.
For 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. As the Democratic Alliance, we also need to give credit where credit is due. And after the era of garlic and potato and HIV denialism, we have to commend the rollout and the current rollout of the ARV heart system in Kwazulu Natal, which is the largest in the world and has played a huge role in the reduction of deaths, particularly amongst HIV-infected pregnant women. Now, in the South African conversation at the moment is the national health insurance, and it is no surprise that the ANC is punching this since it falls exactly into their kleptocratic and corrupt characteristics, as we've seen previously in KwaZulu-Natal under the former MEC Glomo. But instead of looking at methods of improving quality and financial management in public health, the ANC is focusing more on limiting access to private health care and to the health care of millions of South Africans. What the KwaZulu-Natal government should be focusing on is the improvement of quality to such an extent that people with medical aid actually come to KZN public hospitals. In the Western Cape, we have succeeded with this, with medical aid payers actually coming to seek specialist services at hospitals like Grooteskier, like Tygerberg, like the Red Cross Children's Hospital. And this is an additional revenue source for the state to then distribute those funds to under-disadvantaged communities to help them access more health care. And despite the ANC's supposed anti-imperialist stance, the NHI is just a rehash of Britain's National Health Service, a system where health services are actually more expensive than South Africa's private healthcare system. We have, as the DA, the Sizani Health Plan, which works on our strengths here in South Africa. It is a South African plan, and it's based on the South African context, South African tax base, and the South African system. We focus on implementing financial management, service quality, staffing, and infrastructure. We are already putting it in place successfully where we govern. And in addition, the DA would propose an additional 2 billion rand for expanded maternal and child health programs.
Thank you, Verana.
Thank you, Chair.
We are now going to have the speaker from ANC, Honorable L.X.H. Songwa Madlala.
Honorable Chairperson, siyabonga kakhulu ithuba osipha lona. Ngicela nje ukuqala ngokubonga amalunga onke aparticipateile kule debate. I think the speech by Honorable Nkwanyana was so straight to the point, very much encouraging to hear you, Mama, speaking from your heart, well-researched details. I think we have captured that, but I don't want to miss a point, an opportunity of correcting Honorable Virana. He's been away, so you've missed out on a number of discussions in this House. But let me fundamentally state this for those people who stands opposed to the NHI. It is the program of the ANC. It is the aspiration of what is espoused in the Freedom Charter and also translated into the Constitution. We need it. All other countries, Canada, Japan, UK, improved and developed economies are doing this. So what is it that's going to stand on our way to roll out the NHI? Because you in the DA are backgrounding for conglomerates, pharmaceuticals, and these DA and these medical aids. So I want to say to you, please just take a deep breath and rest. This is going to continue. We know that the economic climate is not so conducive, but we cannot abandon the vision that is going to help almost a lot of people that cannot access quality health care. So I just want to say to you, please do not worry about that. The last thing that I want to say to you is that whilst I agree with a whole lot of things you have said in your speech, and you are correct, but I do think that it really leaves a bad taste every time you come here and you think the DA in Western Cape does better than all of us combined. But if you do so much better, what is it that is stopping you from stopping the war there by drug lords? Because you are saying you are a capable government, but you have not stopped the very important thing, which is a cardinal principle crime in your province. So next time you come here, please think about those things. These are issues of social inequality. And I want to say to you, please go and read a theory on justice. You will understand what's saying about distributive justice. The more you delay access to education, health, land, and other economic amenities, we are really embedding and entrenching these inequalities. So these are the things the ANC is fighting on. And I really don't want to stand up and say here, we're not taking a portion of the blame. We are, but it can't be everything that the ANC has made wrong. Some of the things are going to take ages and ages for us to get right, because we were oppressed and we've inherited such an unjust system of government. Honorable Speaker, we are very much humbled to be accorded the opportunity to contribute in this very important debate on the question of health. Honorable members of the House, on the 27th of April 1994, South Africans of all color went for the first time out to vote, and the nation delivered a decisive majority to the ANC. It is through this election that our beloved former President Nelson Mandela assumed the helm with a commitment to build a better life for all South Africans. It is immediately after his assumption of duty as a democratic head of state that he announced that free public health care will be provided to pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, and children under the age of 6. This was the first time any form of free healthcare had been provided to South Africans. In year 2006, these services were extended to all users of public facilities. The ANC recognizes that a lot of good has been achieved in the area of health, but a lot more must be done to sustain the health of our population. The policies of the ANC, as elaborated in its 1992 policy document, Ready to Govern, states that, open quote, I quote, the provision of equitable health care should be guided by the aspiration of our people in the Freedom Charter and by principles which reflect the primary health care approach. That is why we have re-engineered the public health care in the province of Kwazulu Natal. The Ready to Govern document also states that access to health care is a basic human right, and that human right is now incorporated in the Constitution of the Republic. Honorable Speaker and members, the World Health Organization, WHO, noted that for countries to succeed in health improvement, there is a great need to focus on health infrastructure, health financing, service delivery, strong leadership and management, stronger districts, technology, and medical information. Internationally, reducing inequalities in health remains a major concern. Honorable Virana, I'd like you to note that it is well established both in developing and developed countries that ill health follows a socio-economic gradient to the disadvantage of poorer households for a large number of diseases and health conditions. The AU Agenda 2063 aspires that Africa will have put their children first and empower women to play their rightful role in all spheres of life. Similarly, the ANC's manifesto, 2019 manifesto, explains the journey traversed to better and improve women and health and children's lives, thus far to better the lives of our people, albeit economic inequalities, which militates against the aspirations of the people's movement. All of these sentiments, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, have molded the 10-point plan of the Department of Health, with 5 areas focusing on the access to healthcare services to pregnant women in consideration of the socio-economic status of our province, distance travel to health facilities previously, financial accessibility versus the healthcare services for pregnant women and children post-1994. The 10-point plan, as adopted by the Department of Health nationally and provincial health departments, has yielded positive results in this regard. This improvement is recorded in 2017-18, where 74% of women visited health centers for antenatal care, ANC, which included proper screening of women's health, management and control of pre-existing conditions, as raised by Honorable Kwanyan. During the same period, there was improvement in accessibility to PNC by 77.2 for both mother and baby within 3 to 6 days post-delivery. The ripple effect of this intervention, honorable members, saw the reduction on maternal deaths in KZN by 17%, 204 in 2018 compared to 248 in 2017. This includes a small number of community deaths. This reduction is attributed to a number of multiple factors like early interventions on TB and HIV management, essential steps in managing obstetric emergencies, the commitment by the ANC to better life for all, saw the Department of Health Kwazulu Natal introducing obstetric ambulances in all districts in 2010. In 2011, the Department of Health nationally resolved that all provinces must introduce a similar model in order to reduce maternal mortality. Obstetric ambulances are based at identified health facilities across the province in an attempt to ensure harmonization between EMS and health facilities for the operations of these specialized ambulances. This is in line with the World Health Organization's assertion that countries must fight deaths and speed up intervention through medical innovation and medical information. Isifundazwe sinalolu hlobo lama-ambulance awu-48 ey'ndaweni ezihlukene, okufaka phakathi kwalokho i-aero ambulance esiza kakhulu abesifazane abazithwele bangafikanye nabantwana ngesikhathi sokusikwa. The aeromedical stats show that in 2018-19, it has transported 438 patients to our hospitals. Most of our hospitals, Honorable Chair, have enrolled in NASC, non-pneumatic anti-shock garment and assessment and accreditation of hospitals as safe cesarean sections. Site has yielded improvements in the quality of care. NASC is used for management of patients who are bleeding post-delivery, and it was first rolled out in King Etwayo, Zululand, and Umkhanyakude, where it is yielding good results. No women have died of postpartum hemorrhage in this regard. Lona ke ngumsebenzi omuhle owenziwe uhulumeni wethu ukuletha impilo engcono. Sibonile kwakhiwa amakliniki laphaya egama lakhe. There is a major upgrade so that we close the distance traveled by patients to medical centers or health centers. Ama-CHC ePomeroy, Otobotini, KwaMashu, naseDanawuzi. Konke lokhu kuwumsebenzi kahulumeni wethu uqinisekisa ukuthi abantu bakithi bathola impilo engcono at no cost ukuze bakwazi ukuba ingxenye participate in the mainstream economy. Thank you, Chair.
Sibonge, God bless. Goqa, Soto.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I think let's welcome all the speeches by all the speakers. We are very grateful, Honorable Speaker, on how members have responded to this motion. I think in agreement, all of us, we agree that the ANC government has done very well under circumstances when it comes to health issues in this province and nationally. So we are very grateful to all parties in a manner they've responded in the motion. Maybe let me start by saying the ANC has committed itself in upgrading the life of the people of this province and the entire country. But also, when it comes to infrastructure, I think it's glaring to all of us to see that indeed, when we say we are upgrading infrastructure, not only through renovations, but we are building new infrastructure, the state-of-the-art hospitals, CHCs, and clinics. You find clinics, state-of-the-art clinics in rural areas with medication, with staff, but we agree that there are challenges, but indeed we have moved mountains in making sure that primary health care is accessible. Look at the state-of-the-art hospital that you can see that we've built recently, the biggest mega project in this province, costing at around 3 billion rands in KwaMashu, Pixley Hospital. It's one of the best hospitals that you'll find in our times. Whether you go to other hospitals, the old ones, we've renovated them because we care. When we say we care, we mean it. You can touch it, you can see it, you can see us doing it. We spend our money where it matters most, where our people need to be cared for. So let me move to Mam Ngwanyan. Sorry, I'll start with Ubaba KK. I think we agree, Honorable Nkosi, we agree with you that ANC is, in fact, is centered around the people. Everything that we do is people-centered. That one we fully agree, and we'll continue doing that. Mam Kwanyan, siyabonga kakhulu. Your comments were very inspiring, but also we take where you criticize us, it matters, and we are learning lessons. I think the portfolio committee will take those matters up as well. The issues of rural women in particular, indeed, this government agrees with you. That's why we've made sure that we take clinics to the most rural, remote areas to be accessed by our own rural women so they don't travel many kilometers. Honorable Veran, I think Honorable Hlongwa, you've made my day. You've dealt with him, thoroughly dealt with him. You can't just always come here and stand here and talk about Western Cape. Western Cape, believe you me, there is a lot we can say about Western Cape. Lot of wrong things we can talk about Western Cape. When you go to townships, listen to me carefully. Listen to me carefully. When you go to townships in Western Cape, where our people are found, you'll realize that there is serious poverty there. Their healthcare status is not what you will see in affluent areas where whites are living. We are indeed protecting medical aid conglomerates because we are benefiting from them. Honorable Hlongwa was very correct that you'll always defend your own people because medical aids are run by your own people. So we are not saying you are wrong when you stood here and defending them. You are doing your job because they are the ones who are paying you at the end of the day. They are the ones who are sustaining the DA, and we can't stand here and don't say that to you. But all we can say is that NHI is here to stay. Honorable Hlongwa was quite correct. NHI is here to stay. There is nothing you are going to do with it. Our people want it. They've been waiting for it. We are fast-tracking it. It's going to work. Your medical aid people tell them that we are going to implement NHI. Whether you are crying, whether you are laughing, it's going to happen. Indeed, Honorable Hlongwa was correct that please breathe and drink water. Go sleep. Come back here tomorrow. It will be better. Honorable Makos, I wish Abo Kukudlamini are still alive to have heroines like you who are indeed having serious leaders in the ANC who are inspired by you. All of us here who are inspired by you. We are very, very happy to have leaders who are like you, and we must all model ourselves around you. Honorable Speaker, lastly, this province, we must tell you that we have managed to decrease malnutrition in the province. The social net that we have created as this government has managed to decrease malnutrition in the province. Thank you.
Okay, we have come to the end of this debate. Pardon? Ikwaqaza. Ikwaqaza olko. Okay, this house is now adjourned until the 5th of September at 10 o'clock, but members are reminded that they need to remain for the CPA meeting after the adjournment of this house. Oh.
Can we start? Order. Order. Speaker, order. Can we start?
I will nominate Zandile Gumede. How?
We nominate Zandile Gumede.
Amen. Okay, without wasting time, let me declare this meeting open, and immediately I'll hand it over to the secretary who's gonna lead us in conducting the business of this meeting. Saint Lizwe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honourable members. With your permission, I'm going to be very quick. I understand that members are rushed. Officially, we need to establish the CPA branch, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the Kwazulu Natal Legislature branch. We circulated copies of the Constitution to the whips and asked them to bring it to the attention of the members. And so the first item that we have to deal with